This lesson is going to be on noun-adjective agreement, or how we know that a certain adjective is going with the noun it modifies in Latin. Let's look at the English sentence fragment, the new legate's toga. New can either go with the legate, so the legate is new and he has a toga, or new can go with toga. The toga is new and it's the legate's. In Latin there's no such ambiguity, because if the legate is new, then the sentence fragment would be novi legati toga. If the toga is new, then it would be nova legati toga, because of noun-adjective agreement. Before we get too far into the morphology of noun-adjective agreement, I want to talk about some of the words we'll be using for this lesson. The first one is legatus. That I with the macron is telling us that the genitive case of legatus is legati. And once we know what the genitive case and the nominative case are, now we can tell what declension it is, so it's second declension. So now we know what all the other cases look like for legatus, according to the second declension endings. That M is telling us that it's a masculine noun, which we'll get into later as an important aspect of noun-adjective agreement, the gender of the noun that you're modifying. You can kind of translate it as a general or ambassador. The adjective we'll be using for this lesson is novus aum. The three different parts there tell us that it's what I call a 2-1-2 adjective, because it follows the second declension when it's modifying a masculine noun, novus for a masculine noun, follows the first declension when it's modifying a feminine noun, nova when it's modifying a feminine, and second declension neuter form when it's modifying a neuter noun, novum. We aren't going to get into the neuter part for a couple chapters, so don't really worry about that right now. Just that's why I call it a 2-1-2 adjective. The definition of novus is new. You can kind of think of words like renovate. It's re plus novus, so it's new again. So when you renovate something, you make it new again. The last piece of vocabulary for this lesson is toga, togai. That togai part tells us that it's first declension noun. It's just a huge piece of cloth that you wrap around your body as the formal Roman clothing. So if you were a senator, you didn't show up in a suit, you showed up in a toga. These are all of the endings in all of the cases that novus can have. When it's describing a masculine noun, it follows the second declension. When it's describing a feminine noun, it follows the first declension. And when it's describing a neuter noun, it follows the neuter second declension. The basic concept of noun-adjective agreement is that adjectives have to match in gender, number, and case. The genders are masculine, feminine, and neuter. For people, that's kind of simple. It's whatever the gender of the person is, that's the gender of their noun. If you're female, you're feminine. If you're male, you're masculine. In general, though, the gender of nouns can seem kind of arbitrary. I would recommend just memorizing the gender of those nouns. Case refers to the role a noun has in a sentence. So if it's doing whatever's going on in the sentence, then it's in the nominative. If whatever is being done in the sentence is being done to that noun, then it's in the accusative. What the cases do isn't really the focus of this lesson, so I'm just going to kind of gloss over it. But just like a goalie has a very different role in the soccer team, you can think of the adjective as how his jersey has to be a different color too. Let's look at nova legati toga again. Toga is feminine, singular, and nominative. We see that nova has to have that a ending, so it can match how toga is feminine, singular, and nominative. Novi legati toga has a similar situation, but this time legati is masculine, singular, and genitive, so novi has to match that. Let's pause for a minute and ask, how would the phrase change if the toga is new and there's more than one toga? So we're just taking nova legati toga, but then making toga plural. Go ahead and pause the video and work it out for yourself, or if you're confused, rewatch the beginning of the video, stuff like that. What happens is the phrase becomes novi legati togai, because toga turns into togai because it's feminine and plural and a first declension noun, and then nova turns into novi because now it's describing a feminine plural nominative noun. A few years ago, I taught a student whose Roman name was Felix. Felix is the nominative singular form of his name, and he's a he, so he's masculine. So if we wanted an adjective to modify Felix, Laetus, so it's happy Felix, then we would have to look at our chart and see masculine, singular, nominative, gives us a us ending, so it's Felix Lightus. In all the previous examples, the ending of the adjective has exactly matched the ending of the noun. But that's not necessarily the case. Felix is a third declension noun, so he follows a different set of endings from Lightus, which is following the second declension because Felix is masculine. We've reached the end of our lesson. In summary, adjectives have to have the same gender, number, and case as the noun they describe. Adjectives like novus, 212 adjectives, decline like second declension nouns if modifying masculine nouns, first if feminine, and neuter if describing neuter nouns. And finally, the ending of an adjective isn't always the same as the ending of the noun it describes.